Jyoti and Akansha.
Yes, sir.
So let's begin.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening to one and all present here. On behalf of JP Business School, I, Jyoti Mishra, student of MBA second year program, welcome you all to this much awaited event today. I extend a warm welcome to our honorable guests who took out time from their busy schedule to share their pearls of wisdom with all of us. Before we begin today's session, I would like to introduce JP Business School to our guest. JBS is a symbol of vision of our founder chancellor, Honorable Sri Jai Prakash Gaurji. JBS was started in the year 2007 as a constituent of JP Institute of Information Technology. It has made good progress in short span of time and has shown a very high level of academic accomplishment. JBS has benchmarked itself in teaching methodology across the country. JBS offers three programs, namely BBA, MBA, and PhD. Beside traditional specializations like finance, marketing, HR, operations, JBS also offers specializations in business analytics, international business, digital marketing, and entrepreneurship. In addition to 8 weeks of corporate internship, JBS also offers social internship to create managers who are socially responsible to society and humanity. Now, I would like to call upon our Honorable Vice Provost, Professor Renu Luthra Ma'am, to share her thoughts and formally welcome today's guest.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself, ma'am.
Sorry. I always do that. Our distinguished panelist, Mr. Sanjay Chaturvedi, Professor Subir Verma, and in absentia, Mr. Siddiqui, who will be joining us a little later. A very, very, very good afternoon to you and a very warm welcome to this online panel discussion. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm delighted that you could spare time, as Jyoti said, out of very busy schedules, working online. And then Professor Subir must have been teaching online, perhaps online and offline both. So it's a really trying period for everyone around, very challenging period. So thank you ever so much, gentlemen, for joining us. And of course, my dear colleagues, Professor Rajneesh, Head of Academics in JBS, and my faculty colleagues, and above all, my dear students who are here in large numbers. And of course, the guests from outside, the external participants, a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us today. When Rajneesh shared with me that he was organizing a panel discussion on this theme, I really thought that this is so required. HR, has been so much in the past being dismissed as a soft function. And here we are today, wherein, I'll draw a parallel. In 2007, 2008, financial crisis, it gave birth to what is known as the chief finance officers who were supposed to take the companies out of trouble, out of their financial problems in that period. Today, in the last 1 year, it is the HRs who become the chief HR human resource officers who are now supposed to navigate the organizations through this extremely turbulent period, because as the BCG, Boston Consulting Group, said, that this crisis, this period is actually a people-based crisis. And if you look at it, it is so very true. It's just the people-based crisis that has taken over the entire world. COVID-19 has altered the reality for all of us. Economies, individuals, cities, countries have experienced the fear of the unknown. If I'm not too wrong in saying that, it was the fear of unknown, and we all tread on the untrodden path, and we all tread and ventured into new avenues. Now, and most importantly, my HR professionals all in this team, including my students, will agree with me that every organization, including JP University, had to make decisions in a very short span of time. For us at JBS, It was just within a week that we quickly launched ourselves into the Zoom platform. And then, of course, we got our own softwares, etc. Now, Mr. Sanjay, your organizations may have made decisions about who's going to work from home, who's going to work from the digital space, who's going to be coming to the office. And the simple decision, huge ramifications. And how and where should people be moved to the digital space? Now, these are organization must have turned to you as an HR professional to guide them. HR today, and this in the last couple of months, was grappling not only with the internal issues, they started looking at mental health issues. They started looking at managing people across distances. They started finding out solutions to and challenges of remote working from home, a whole new culture within a span of few days. The entire cultural ethos of organizations were changed, and everybody was grappling with a whole new culture. Rethinking boundaries. I mean, where were the boundaries? And coordination with virtual teams. And of course, most importantly, look at the multiple agencies that the HR department or the organizations had to. It was the government they had to coordinate with, the health authorities they had to coordinate with, the local authorities they had to coordinate with, policies, etc., etc. Now, these were huge challenges, and believe me, I'm so proud as an Indian the way, and I'm an HR professional too, at how the most companies really rose to the occasions. Whether it was managing global virtual teams, whether it was the supply chain vulnerabilities, HR had to play its bit. With these words, I very, very warmly welcome Mr. Chaturvedi and Mr. Subir, Professor Subir Verma to this panel discussion. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions after this because I've seen the profile of our speakers. It's brilliant. And thank you, Dr. Rajneesh, for putting this together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would request Professor Rajneesh Kumar Mishra, sir, to share today's theme of panel discussion and introduce our first guest, Professor Subir Verma.
Thank you, Jyoti. It's a time 4:30, and it's difficult whether to call it a good afternoon or good evening. So let's begin the session with good evening to all of you, to the panel members, Professor Subir Verma, Mr. Sanjay Chaturvedi, and Mr. Siddiqui will be joining us shortly. I'm reminded of two good poems that we have learnt in our childhood days, and both these are apt in today's time. The first one is Alfred Tennyson has rightly said, when King Arthur was on the bed and he was keen on knowing about what is the state of war and how they are faring in that war. I will not use it in person, but I will like to represent it as a time. It says that the old order changeth, yielding place to new. God fulfills himself in many ways. Lest one good custom corrupt the world. Comfort thyself, what comfort is in me. I have lived my life, and that which I have done, may he within himself make pure and thou. If thou shouldest never see my face, again pray for my soul. More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. Let's look at the time. The conventions that we were following for almost a century had been shattered and broken into pieces with this pandemic. So in this poem, I'm looking at how the time is saying that you pray for me, lest I will come back. Hope this pandemic will be over and I will be able to replace again. Or in case I'm not able to do that, you pray for me that I remain in peace and silence. The second and equally really wonderful poem that I always quote is by Rudyard Kipling. When he said that, oh, east is east and west is west, never the twain shall meet. With these two phrases, I would like to introduce this theme. When we started off thinking about what theme should we target at, should we look at HR today and tomorrow, then we got an idea from then Professor Redu and Professor Rajneesh, why can't you put this like this? HR challenges in the new world order. So that those poems that I have cited is somewhere put us in a frame or a perspective how this new world order is going to be. The other equally important aspect when we are trying to define this theme is that what are the challenges that technology has posed before us? Although it has integrated us, even we are doing better or equal to America or in pandemic scenario. The other challenge that we are experiencing at this point of time is about the shared spaces. Will the concept of shared spaces that we had been talking about in the earlier days, will it continue to remain true today? There's another new thing, although when we used to teach change and organization development, we say that when exceptions become the rule, so let's make exception as a part of the rule. So therefore, will that work from home that used to be an exception for the IT world, is it now becoming the rule for all of us? This is the question that we will have to look at. The other equally challenging question that is going to be posed, the challenge before us, is about hiring. Whether the online hiring is going to be replacing the physical setup of hiring that we had been adopting over a quite number of years, and hopefully my students will also be keen on knowing about how this assessment center and other things are going to be run in an online mode. And last,
very important Oxford studies that have stated there are three most important reasons for people to stay back in a company. The number one is compensation. So we can't even we should not be saying that the younger generation are wrong in terms of demanding even the non-millennials demand compensation. The important aspect on number 2 and 3, the younger generations demand great amount of learning and development opportunities. Now, all of us know that great firms, innovative firms, and great firms have typically become great because they have innovated. They insist today, especially in the world of agile technologies and agile work processes, on fast learning, fast failing. Or I would say fast experimenting, fast failing, and fast learning. So, and that's what we call the employee resilience. So, are there learning and development opportunities for the candidate, for the employees? If they are, the younger people, the talented people will stay with you. The third aspect is supervisors' feedback and mentoring. That has become a big thing. And I think the mentoring and coaching today requires greater trust, greater interventions, greater input from, I would say, celebrated doyens like Mr. Siddiqui, so that people get mentored, the younger generation gets mentored at different stages in the career progression. So what are we saying over here is that due to the erosion of slack, and also the difficulty of measuring performance and productivity of work from home of employees, firms today cannot offer promotions or salary increases the way that we used to do earlier in place of what I call engagement strategy. They today have to devise alternate strategies to engage, which does not carry a whiff of promotion or salary. That's a huge challenge for the HR professionals. Finally, is the workforce of the future. What kind of workforce are we looking at? We're looking at a workforce that is both diverse and I would say hybrid. There will be more women, more millennials, more centennials. There will be full-time employees, there will be contingent employees, and there will be GIG employees. So diverse workforce, hybrid workforce, and therefore you have to set the norms. The norms must change. And given the fact that hybrid jobs require hybrid, has a hybrid workforce, you also need to have hybrid competencies. And what are these competencies? These competencies are basically three. These are higher cognitive skills. So these are skills that is related to the way what you call organizations is the way with regard to critical thinking, decision making, project management, very complex information processing, and interpretation and creativity. Apart from that, the second set of hybrid competencies are what are called social emotional skills, which is about advanced communication, negotiation skills, interpersonal and empathy, leadership and collaboration, adaptability and continuous learning, and teaching and training others. And finally is what we call the technology skills. I'm a digital world. You need to have a digitally literate, what we call employees. No more can a marketing guy just know marketing, just know strategies, just know segmentation. That marketing guy should also know programming. Same thing with the finance person. And I think this is a thing that all of us in business school has to ensure that our finance guys can also do cryptocurrency, can also know Python. So these are certain basic stuff that people need to have, basic and advanced IT skills and programming, data analytics, mathematical skills, technology and design. Now, this is the workforce of the future. And the important thing is this. Well, in India, most of the industries will be played by about 75 to 80% skill gap. That means only about 20 to 25% will be skilled enough for the available jobs, and labor employability will be at its lowest. There is a huge amount. Now look at the ILO study. Is of the opinion that India is staring at a 29 million skill deficit by 2030. Look at the Accenture's projection is that the skill gap in India will cause a loss of $1.97 trillion in terms of GDP, promised by investment in intelligent technology over the next 10 years if it is not controlled. In fact, people have discovered relationship between GDP and investment in IT. So this gap is most in the IT sector. According to IBM data, at present there is a shortage of at least 3 million cybersecurity professionals in India. So this is the size of the cake that we are talking about. And I'm very happy to note that JBS has introduced the course and program in data analytics, and because it's not only about the producing students over here. These are students who probably will have a more employable, more features skill sets than what others would have. So this is an enormous challenge for all HR firms. They have to do skilling, they have to do reskilling, and they have to do huge amount of upskilling. But wonders whether they would have a training and development budget for that. If they do not have, they need to, because if they do not invest now, they will have nothing to invest for in the future. Now, this is a quotation from Henry Kissinger, and which I paraphrase. The historic challenge for HR leaders is to manage the crisis while building the future. So I stop over here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would request Professor Rajneesh, sir, to introduce Mr. Sanjay Chaturvedi.
Before I introduce Mr. Chaturvedi, Professor Subir has already shared his pearls of wisdom. Just briefly about him, because it is really important for the audience to know more about him as well. Professor Subir, he joined Fore School of Management in 2017. Prior to that, he was professor and chairperson MDPs in IMI. And before joining IMI, he was Dean and Professor IIM Ranchi. He started off his academic career in the year 2002 with MDI Gurgaon. And the other critical attributes that he possesses to his kitty, he has a good consulting exposure, almost 20 plus 10 years of consulting experience, 20 years in academics and 10 years in consulting. He is almost one of the first batch of, after graduating, doing his FPM from IIM Ahmedabad, first batch of TAS, Tata Administrative Services, which he never mentions in his CV. And this is the, post that he has done a lot of contribution towards academics. As an academic administrator also, he had done, brought in good initiatives in MDI Gurgaon. And he's also currently heading the accreditation for the MBA program at Fore School of Management. He has 4 books to his credit, worth reading. He has co-authored these 4 books with late Professor Preetham Singh. And I know Mr. Siddiqui has also been part of that inaugural of one of his recent books that was launched way back in October 2020.
He has been our mentor. He is our mentor.
Yeah, sure. Now
Great privilege, Professor Subir Verma.
Now I would like to tell you about Mr. Sanjay Chaturvedi. Currently, he's heading HR in Valvoline Cummins Private Limited. And prior to joining Valvoline, he was change management head at Sun Pharma. Before Sun Pharma, he was with RIL, one of the almost the public sector company in the country, and he started off his career in HR with Datamatics Limited and moved on to various companies and different sectors. So he has vast exposure of handling both in IT services. Even at some point of time, he was also part of the Videocon that is into TV manufacturing, refrigerator manufacturing, and so on and so forth. So he has hands-on understanding and experience of manufacturing to service to IT. He's I would say, a cocktail of exposure with respect to his exposure and experience in various sectors. May I now request Mr. Chaturvedi to take on the dais for sharing his thoughts.
Thanks, Professor Mishra. And also my thanks to Professor Lothra for getting me to this platform. And it's a pleasure for me to sharing this platform along with Mr. Siddiqui and Professor Verma. It's a real pleasure. So I would like to share my slide deck with you. I hope you can see my slide.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So this has been a very interesting topic to discuss, and I was really amazed and pleased to when the Professor Mishra approached me with this nice topic, and I thought, like, what else can be a better or apt topic at this point of time to discuss in such a august forum. And looking at our experience during the pandemic days and going forward, what is the way, the new world order that emerges. So it's a wonderful opportunity to discuss and throw some light on this topic and share our experience on this diet. As you all know, that challenge and that change is a continuous process, and it has been like in the past also. And when it came to the COVID pandemic, none of us even thought of such kind of a situation could emerge for all of us. When we came to know about what COVID is, it was slowly creeping in. So we could not guess how impactful and how intense the impact of this COVID-19 would be for us. But as it progressed in the month of February, March, spread across the globe, then actually we realized how sensitive and like difficult it can make the life of all the individuals globally, organizations, countries, states across the globe. It was a very different experience for all of us. And during this period, it gave us different experiences. I'm going to share with you in the subsequent slides. But one thing that reminds me that about Marshall Goldsmith, what he said, that what got you here won't get you there. That means change is a continuous process. We should keep on evolving ourselves in terms of our processes, in terms of our people management, in terms of the way we run businesses, we run our policies and other things, the way we behave, the way we carry out ourselves. A very apt quote that is very relevant in the current context. Now, what is the new world order? First, let us try to understand, be it COVID or anything beyond that, because COVID might last for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. It will go at a point of time. Hopefully, it should go. And beyond that, in times to come, there could be some situations of a similar nature that can emerge again. So, COVID has taught us certain lessons. It has made us realize or had given us that experience that something of that sort can happen at any point of time. We need to prepare ourselves for the same. So we need to evolve our new ways of working, because before COVID, I remember like when most of the manufacturing companies, they never even thought of allowing their employees to work. Totally unthinkable. But what COVID has forced us into is that now today we have landed up in a situation. People have accepted that this is the new norm, and work can be done, and also can be done effectively by allowing some of our employees or most of our employees working remotely. A total shift in the way people used to think earlier. Business scenarios are changing. Technology is changing. I remember before COVID period, we started using Microsoft Teams in our office. It was a new technology. Zoom was also starting to get used by many people. But the way the technology has emerged, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or Google Teams, so these kind of enablers in terms of technology, which has made life easier. We need to continuously evolving in terms of our technology and keep on adopting the same. Also, when it comes to managing our people, managing the people processes, it was again a very totally different scenario, a different experience. And we were totally taken aback how to manage our people processes remotely, which we were not used to, especially in a manufacturing setup. That means sustaining and looking forward for growth while having a view of the new world order is the order of the day. And that's what we need to. We are compelled to think by the COVID-19 pandemic. What are the challenges that have emerged? I remember clearly when the COVID landed in India. In fact, that was a time when my organization, the place where my office is, in the very same building, the first case of it got reported. COVID positive case, not in our organization, but in a different organization, but in the same building. We allowed our people work from home, working remotely from that day onwards. I remember very clearly that was March 7. Till date, we are working from home. And the business has been, so the lesson learned is, we have learned over the last 1 year, how to run business, how to run our HR processes, how to manage technology, and how to leverage technology and make ourselves future ready. How tomorrow the things are going to be, for how long the organizations are going to last, for a year, 2 years, or maybe longer, or whether some organizations would last or not, whether there would be any salary cuts, or how long the companies can afford to pay salaries to its employees, for 1 year, 2 years, so what is depending upon their financial prowess. So a lot of uncertainty. People were scared. There could be some job losses. There could be some salary cuts. Nobody business is going to evolve. How the business is going to be run in the COVID pandemic. Very difficult situation. For us, we would see the first and foremost health and safety of our business. We quickly and formed a steering committee who could help us navigate by making provisions of various safety protocols for our employees. People, because it was important to have the getting the cash flows on time. There was get us the business. Even at senior levels, I could say, during the pandemic period, onboarding of the people who were joining us, the entire onboarding process was never, we could never think of how to manage recruitments, because the thought process was, especially at a senior level, we always thought of doing recruitments by interviewing people in person, then finalizing on the offer. Here, we landed up in a situation where interviews were being done remotely, offers being rolled out remotely, and